I'm so thankful to even have this conversation with you, Pastor Erwin.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I think it's really special. Last year was the first year that we kind of brought back these breakout moments. And I love the opportunity just to be in an intimate setting and to get to hear your heart. Today, the thought is church and creativity. You have two incredible kids who you have helped navigate the individual creative path that God's destined for them. But I know that just as much care and concern you take for Mariah and Aaron, the reason why Mosaic is as special as it is because you lead the team with that much care and concern.
Yeah.
And I think that as creatives, you said you found out that you were good at things, that speaking, writing, all of these incredible creative spaces that you filled. But I think for a lot of times, for a lot of us as creatives, we are ruthlessly critical of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And often we can find a passion or we can find something that lights up our life and makes us come alive, but then we can't move forward because anytime we take a step, we tear ourselves apart, or maybe we work on something expecting to reach a state of perfection before we actually share it with anyone.
Yeah.
Will you just kind of talk a little bit about that? Because I think all of us deal with that. The insecurity, the fear, the criticism of ourselves. How do you move past that and work with people as well? Be comfortable to share your ideas and let people touch your ideas, because that happens in church a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was frustrated. I mispronounced 4 words in my talk this afternoon.
Stop.
And no, I did. I was really upset with myself. I just do not like mispronouncing words. I work really hard. I don't know if you can tell.
We didn't catch one.
And what?
We didn't catch one of them.
No, it's because people hear in a totality, and so you don't always like you fill in what the person should have said. You don't even know it, and some of you will, So it's frustrating for me. One of the things I've learned how to do is instead of a lot of times going back and saying the word again, I just let it go, and I go, the imperfection is a part of the perfection.
Yeah. That's so good. Did y'all hear that?
And or then if I say it wrong, I just go, oh, I get to say it a second time for emphasis. So I'm not correcting it. I'm building on it.
It's great.
And then at one point I mispronounced the word and I thought, okay, someone will read that as me being an immigrant. And because I just said it with an accent. And these are thoughts I'm having while I'm speaking. And I have to decide while I'm speaking, do I go back, correct it? Do I leave it alone? I think anyone who's not hyper-compulsive isn't really built to create great things. It doesn't mean you can't have a great life and do beautiful things. But there is a compulsive nature to greatness. And so this is back to the language thing. Everyone's a leader, right? Yes. Except everyone's not, right? Yes. Because you can look at everybody and go, yeah, you're not really leading, but I'm going to pretend you're leading. And so here's the dilemma. We say everyone's a leader, but then the problem is that we've just defined all these people who aren't leading as leaders.
Right.
So how do you have the leadership conversation saying, hey, you're not really doing your job? But you just told me everyone's a leader.
Yeah.
And so we keep giving everyone titles and definitions and without having actually materialized them. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're in a dilemma. We're trying to be so empowering. We're calling everybody something. And then how do you then identify the person who actually took on that? Right?
And what do you think is the way to move forward to empower people?
That's not my job. You got to figure this out. Do you see? I'm going, I think, yeah, because I'm just pointing out the dilemma.
It really is,
it's your
though.
Generation's responsibility.
It is a dilemma
to fix
because
it.
you want to empower people.
I think that it requires more intense honesty.
Yeah.
They go, look, I'm going to call you out based on your potential.
Yeah.
But eventually it has to be proof of product.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Right?
Absolutely.
And because, if I'm going to call you a leader, eventually you have to stop being manipulated and controlled by the crowd.
Right.
Eventually you got to be the person who shapes the environment of the room rather than saying, well, I was in the wrong room.
Right.
Because if you're a leader, you're actually never in the wrong room. Yeah. Because
That's
the room
right.
always becomes what you create.
That's right.
Yeah.
So good.
Right?
And how do you allow, how do you walk into spaces in your life? What have you discovered to allow the environment not to impact you, but for you to influence the environment?
I've always been stubborn enough to not be influenced by the environment. I haven't always been intentional enough to always influence the environment, you know?
Yeah.
And so if the environment's corrupt, I remember one time, this is like neither here nor there, but I went to Australia like 25 years ago and I met with a really famous theologian and he called me and asked if we could meet. And so I said, sure. So we met for breakfast. And he said to me, oh man, I wanted to meet you for dinner because you're an American. And so I know that you don't drink, so I wanted to force you to have a beer because you're in my culture. And he just assumed I didn't drink, and I didn't, and he was right. And but I said, you don't really know me. If I was in Brazil and you were standing there naked, I wouldn't feel obligated to be naked. And I said, if we had dinner, I wouldn't drink if I didn't feel like it. And so I've always had this sense of just be your own person. Yeah. Stop trying to be what everybody else wants you to be, you know? Yeah. But impacting an environment is a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that takes so much more intention. And I do think that that's something you and Rich have stepped into so quickly in your lives. You're so intentional. I can't imagine you being in an environment that you would not shape. And just you have to kind of know yourself, and you have to not base your value on how other people perceive you or respond to you.
That's great.
You know, because someone had asked me, one of the differences probably like with maybe like my own journey is no one really has ever seen any photographs of me with famous people. And so they wouldn't either conclude I don't know famous people or that I didn't do that on purpose. And I didn't do it on purpose. And part of the reason is I would tell people, like books, I don't ever put endorsements on my books.
Wow.
And publishers ask me, why won't you put endorsements on your book? We need these endorsements. And I said, because if I need their endorsements, what that's actually saying is their endorsements is of higher value than my work.
Wow.
And so I said, so I'm just not going to put endorsements on it. I'd rather have no one buy it. And one of my guys just posted a photograph with him and some celebrities. Like right away. He goes, and he put on there, when my friends are celebrities. And I'm like, you know, and I kind of like sat down with coffee last week. This is, it's hard. Celebrities are awesome, right? And I said, now I want you to know something. If you were a celebrity, celebrities take photographs with celebrities, but they don't call them celebrities, they call them friends. Yeah. So you are now less than that celebrity because you needed whatever they had to give you. And I said, look, this is the thing. When you're in the room with anyone, I don't care who that person is, how famous they are, how rich they are. I'm probably in a room with more billionaires than I am like celebrities.
It's incredible.
Like the people who pay the celebrities.
Exactly.
But I always remind myself of something really significant to me. I don't need them.
Right. Yeah.
I don't need their celebrity. I don't need their money. Yeah. I don't need anything. They need what I have more than I need what they have.
Yeah.
So good.
That's the key of going in the room. You're not working the room. You
go in the room and keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah. And just be yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. And just recently I had this guy, he said he lost $2 billion in the last 18 months. I don't know what that's like, And he flew out, we had coffee, and had a conversation, because he asked if we could meet, so I said, sure, and he wrote a check for $100,000, to give to the church, and got on the plane, and I just sent him an email. I said, hey, I just want you to know, I'm sure you have lots of friends, but if you need someone, I'm here. And he sent me an email right away. He goes, I don't have any friends. And that's been the overarching experience I've had in my life, is that if you know how to create a beautiful life, you're rare. And that commodity is worth more than fame or money or power.
And it speaks to the value of the church.
Yeah,
It speaks
right.
to the value of community that people are looking. I love what you said. They're not celebrities. They say they're your friends. You know, I think at VOUS, it's like somebody comes in, you may know their name, but we want to give them space to hear the voice of God, not to take pictures, to be able to blend in with every other person who's a son of God, a daughter of God, and to say, I'm part of this global family. And I think I've heard that story from so many people in my life of they have it all.
Yeah.
You know, but they're so lonely, they're so empty. And I think it's a reminder for all of us that we just never know who we're talking to. We can't make assumptions about where people are. The Holy Spirit leads us. You know?
I was in the car when Rich got a call from Kanye asking him to marry them.
No way!
And he goes, what do I do? I said, you marry them.
I remember him talking to you about it.
Yeah.
I remember him telling me
Aaron
that he spoke to you and said, what should I do? You said, you marry them.
It's not like you called Kanye saying, can I marry you? That would be weird.
Yeah. That would be weird.
It's the other way around. And I go, no, like when that person invites you into the world, you go in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity
And you
to share the love
don't
of
worry
Jesus.
about what the church is going to say about you or Christians are going to say about you. They're going to say it about you anyway.
Yeah. How good is that? So good. Okay, so what inspires you? How do you continually find wonder around you?
You guys do definitely inspire me. And you and Rich and Vu and the conference was like, it blows me away, you know? I just came from Bogota, right here, at a church called Su Presencia. And you know what? And like 30,000 people crammed into their buildings. I spoke on Wednesday night, I think it was like 4,000 and 4,000 in two services, and they said, we can't advertise. You know, so I'm inspired, and I listen to the pastor and I get to hear his story. And I like unique stories from people, like Gary Clark was an equestrian.
Love Gary Clark.
And, you know, he rode horses. I used to ride open jumpers. And so I like people who are orchestra conductors and are equestrians. And, you know, they were neuroscientists, and then they became, you know, humanitarians. Or I find people to be the most inspiring thing in the world. You know, the uniqueness and genius inside of people. But I'm inspired by less noble things. I love food.
Same.
You know,
I love a good meal.
I'm inspired by great food. I'm inspired by chefs, like Top Chef's one of my favorite shows. I have the shirt for it.
That is awesome.
You know, if I could choose another life, I would either be a movie director or a chef.
Oh, you've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
You'll do both.
I love the genius of chefs. I love how they begin the whole process from growing things to, you know, from setting them on the table, from the artistry of the design, you know. Those things really inspire me. So I take time, and when I travel, I go to the best restaurants in the world. And I don't care what anybody thinks or anybody says.
It's incredible.
And I go, and I have eaten.
And you're not a vegan.
No, but I had worm tacos the other day.
I got a sense that you were not a vegan today.
No,
So
yeah, that's so true. I know. I respect vegans. And,
yeah. That's a kind of politically correct thing to say right now. No, he doesn't, Mariah said. I love it.
Mariah said to me, be kind. I think I'm always kind. And but she told me I needed to be nice, because last time I did this was Rich. I kind of gave Rich a really hard time.
Thank you for not giving me a hard time.
I
Please
would never,
keep it up.
Never try. And,
I love it. Well, hey, I think I'm not even sure how much time we have left, but I do want to ask a few more questions. What time is it, guys? 5:02. We got some time. We're good. I know this room is full of people from all different walks of life.
Isn't this room beautiful? By the way, these things inspire me.
Seriously.
Architecture inspires me. Like, this is like amazing.
It is. This entire building is amazing. I'm so grateful that we were able to fill it.
Go ahead, sorry.
But no, I'm with you. I love it. It's a beautiful space, but every single one of you, I know so many of the stories in this room, and you guys all occupy different spaces in our society, and, all different ages represented. There are people in this room, they're musicians. I'm looking around the room, lawyers, people who are in school right now. There are pastors in this room. And I think for all of us, what would you say to us as we try to figure out our own purpose and identity? Because creativity, I think, obviously, God is so creative. Every one of us have a unique and individual path. But as we try to decipher what it is, I think so many times we put so much pressure on the single steps that we end up not stepping at all. And what would you say to us? Just whatever's on your heart, really, when it comes to church and creativity. And by church, I just mean community, because I think creativity is fostered in community.
Yeah, I think several things. One, just realize wherever you're at, whatever discipline you're in, whatever career you have, you can actually choose to bring creativity to that place. Yeah. I mean, all of us have had bad teachers that made us hate a subject. And have had beautiful teachers who made us love a subject. Yeah. And so I would say just realize that whatever field you're in, if you add your creativity, your beauty, your artistry, yourself, if you bring yourself, that's what it is, you're bringing your soul. To me, creativity is the externalization of the human soul. And so the moment you take your soul and you bring it out, you make a better world. And so you say if you're teaching math, maybe you're not going to have world-class mathematicians come out of that class, but if you show them how creatively interesting, fascinating math is, if you create a place where their imagination is opened up, that will transfer to other arenas in their life, and they'll realize that everything can be creative. Wow. So if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, the difference between phoning it in and bringing your most creative self to work every day. Mm-hmm. And that's why I just think the world would be so profoundly different if everybody brought their most creative, passionate, beautiful self to everything in life. Yeah. And marriages would not end if both partners stayed creative in their marriage. But like when we give up on the creative process of love, and one of the things that I accidentally said in Bogota, and the great thing about having limited languages, you have to search for how you can say what you can say. And I said in Spanish that God's favorite color is love, and that when God paints, that's how He paints on the human spirit. That's like His most profound color.
Beautiful.
And so like when you bring love into anything, it changes everything.
Nice.
And it's a parenting, and so that would be like the overarching thing. On the church side, the experience on Sunday is not supposed to be everyone's platform to show their creativity. Wow. That was the big problem we had at Mosaic.
Please share a little bit more about that, because I think that's a great thing that I don't think we talk about very often.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I can talk about because we just really messed it up. We had, I think 20 years ago, the LA Times said we had the highest concentration of industry artists in the world in one church. Wow. Do you know how hard that is? To have 3,000 mildly narcissistic and I was
in Hollywood.
What? Yeah, they were not mildly narcissistic. They were wildly narcissistic, openly narcissistic, and artists who believed that the church should give them a platform now that we're an expression of creativity. Wow. Mm. And as long as we gave them a platform, they were all in. And the moment we gave it to someone else, the church wasn't there for them anymore. And so I shut everything down, every platform. I mean, a lot of churches are doing stuff around the world that we don't do anymore. I go, yeah, you're going there. And, and so if you came to Mosaic, you go, where's all the art? Yeah. Because we used to have stand-up comedy. I mean, on Sunday, stand-up comedy, films, dance, painters everywhere. We were an explosion of artistry. And the two things I had to really fight was people started feeling like, oh, it's only about art. And I go, no, it's about your life being a work of art. I don't care if you're a teacher, a doctor, architect, or a barista. Yeah. This is the metaphor. you know? And then on the flip side, the feeding of the narcissism of, don't we get a platform?
Yeah.
You know how a lot of churches, maybe not here, maybe I shouldn't say this, it's still kind. And like a lot of churches are narcissistic because they think that they should use their spiritual gifts in church.
Yeah.
And so everybody should speak in tongues. And it's just narcissism. And we just make it spiritual. And because really, why do you need to speak in tongues on Sunday in front of everybody? Or like churches where everyone has to prophesy. Like, ever been in those places where everybody's like coming and giving you, like, you don't even know me. Like, but you're going to give me your prophetic word, sure. And then 20 other people. And the prophetic word isn't for me, it's for them. It's their own sense of ego need. So when I became a Christian, I thought, wow, most spiritual gifts are just a spiritualized version of narcissism. Well, we got to change that to a artistic version of narcissism. And so now it's like you get to paint, you get to act, you get to dance. And we kept going back going, no, this is A, all about Jesus, and B, all built on character.
Yeah.
And those are like your X and Y.
That is so
You
good.
know, so when we did sports, I'd have people say, hey, why can't we just play to win? I said, you can, go join a league.
Yeah.
Here, we play to win and to bring everybody to Jesus. We still play to win because I'm still competitive, you know. And but like I would have people say, "Why do we have to play this sport and have unbelievers on our team?" I go, "You don't. Go to the YMCA. They don't have this condition. But if you're going to play soccer with me, you know, on the league, we're going to have lots of people who don't know Jesus."
There's a purpose here.
Yeah. So it's like keeping your intention, your purpose, your mission. It's all about Jesus and bringing the world to Him. And then it's all based on character. I don't care how talented you are. If you don't have the character to carry that talent, we can't let you sink the whole ship.
Yeah.
You know, because you are the hole in the bow of the ship if you have a lot of talent and no character. And we try not to, but let's be honest, we all are really drawn to talent. It's just, we're like moths to flame.
Yeah.
But talent is a flame, not always a light. You know?
So good.
Yeah, so we've made a huge adjustment. Sometimes I don't make micro adjustments. Like when I go, I just wipe everything out. And I go,
Create.
nobody's getting on stage. You know, why? Because you're a bunch of narcissists. We got to break this. We're just feeding the wrong thing in your soul. I mean, we had the largest improv community in the United States, in the world probably. And but they lost their mission. And the moment we felt like Jesus was not welcome in the room, I destroyed it. Because I said, like, I don't have a calling to create the greatest improv artists in the world. I have a calling and a mission to bring all those improv artists to Jesus. And we had probably the largest fashion event in Los Angeles. We had over 1,000 people coming to our fashion event, you know. Original design, runways, the whole thing. And the moment it felt like Jesus was uninvited in the room, just canceled it. It was the last one.
It's incredible.
So I'm ruthless. Look, I am. You know why? Because I was in the fashion world. I was in the film world.
Yeah.
I was in the business world. If I want to do that, I go do that.
Right.
You know? And
Empty without the focus fully on
to me, the church is... I had someone email me one time. This is kind of funny.
I love email stories.
Yeah. They said, hey, we're going to be bringing our unbelieving family for the next 3 weeks because they were all Jewish. Could you not mention Jesus for the next 3 weeks? Honest, I got that. These are friends of mine too. These people I work with in the film industry and stuff. And I sent them an email back going, yeah, I can't do that because this is not my place. This is Jesus' place.
Yes.
We cannot mention me for 3 weeks. So we can't not mention Jesus for 3 weeks.
No.
So why don't you just get a little more honest with your family and tell them you're going to Jesus' place.
Wow.
And that way they're not shocked.
Good.
You know?
You guys, that's good. Man, we've had friends say the same comments to us, and they're dear friends. They don't share our faith, and they're like, can you not talk about him as much? And we're like, he's all we talk about. If you're going to come to church, he's all we're going to talk about every Sunday. This is his place. You said it so beautifully.
I know. And this woman comes and goes, I agree with everything you say, but you at the end of all your talks, you always seem to get fixated on Jesus.
Yes.
And she goes, is there any way you could like tone that down? And I told her, I said, hey, I'm sorry that my story is inadequate for you.
Wow.
Because Jesus is the only story I have.
Yeah.
Only thing.
And
That's it.
she was so apologetic. Because like I put it on her, like, hey, I'm sorry that my story is, because you know how everybody talks about, share your truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
What you're actually saying to me is don't share your truth.
Exactly.
And so I'm going, I just thought, hey, look, if Buddha had changed my life, or Krishna had changed my life, or if Freud or anyone else had changed my life, I would be sharing that story.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, this is the only story I have. And I can't share with you a story of my life changing except of how it changed. And she was super apologetic. She goes, I'm so sorry. No, your story's good enough. But everybody wants to say, share your truth, except when your truth is Jesus.
It's true.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, if you want someone to tell you if Buddha changed your life, this isn't the place. I imagine there's someone, maybe, right? But this isn't the place, yeah.
No, it's powerful. And the power of creativity to convey the message of the gospel, whether it be through music that transcends languages, it's incredible what we can do as we come together in a community. I find often that for those of us that are working specifically in creative spaces, it can be hard sometimes to work as a community, on a team, in unity. And often when there is conflict, because we feel deeply, because we create, our feelings can lead us to a place of isolation. Yeah. They can lead us to a place of rejecting the family that God has created for us, not just to participate in, but to actually be shaped within, for those rough edges to be rubbed off, and for those emotions to be put in a place of health, and for us to grow and to thrive within. But it's easy to isolate ourselves. I think just my last question for you is, as a creative, how have you inspired the people you lead? Because you're in a city where people come in and out. Yeah. And it's easy. They'll come in for 1 week and be all in, and I already know the story, and then you never see them again. Or maybe they come and they say they're all in for 4 weeks, and that's a big thing for them. And you think they're going to be a part of the building process, and then they're gone. How have you spoken to creatives the truth of being planted?
First of all, I was looking at Mariah when you were speaking, because I was going, she's just so good. I was just doing a little like...
Love this girl.
And you never lose your narrative. You just never lose the plot. And there's just something, you have one of the best internal compasses I've ever seen. And it's just really powerful. And I think, it's like one of the things that you only get in church, the kind of compass that you have in community, in relationship to other people. And because I've never really heard you talk about anything that you needed. I only hear you focusing on what everyone else needs. And it's like kind of like metaphysical. You only know yourself when you get yourself out of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and the moment you start giving your life to other people and building other people, it's like who you are becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. Right. And I think that's why it's like you have such a clear sense of self, because your life is so focused on building people. I think building the church is the most difficult thing in the world. And when I wasn't going to keep doing this, and I ran pretty quietly but hard. And I thought, I was already like planning my exit. And I felt like the thing that God just spoke deeply inside of me is, Erwin, I want you to stay as an artist, but the material that I care about most is the human material. Wow. And this is the material that God uses. And it's interesting, Picasso actually said that the singular most important element in art is love. Mm. And Monet said the same thing. Van Gogh says the same thing. Like, we should actually pay attention when the people we think are the greatest artists in the world keep going back to somehow love is the central ingredient of all great art.
Wow.
Now, if the church is core essence is faith and hope and love. How in the world, one, I don't know how we missed that the church is supposed to be the epicenter of human creativity. Like, how in the world did the church ever not become that?
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the reasons why the church is so bound in the past, because the moment the church begins dreaming at the future, it becomes a creative being. And tradition and our fear of the future has neutralized the creative essence of the church. So one of the things that I just say really up front is the church to me is not supplemental, it's essential.
It's great.
You know, like I didn't leave the church when I wanted to run because I knew I needed community. I don't think I would even still be here if it wasn't for the church. I certainly would have never found my gifts, my talents. I would never found my ability to dream and envision. I feel like the church transformed me and made me who I didn't know I could become.
It's incredible.
Even with the conflicts. Like Mariah and I walked this morning, talked about some of the hard years at Mosaic, some of the really painful part of the journey. If you always run from crisis, if you always run from conflict, if you always run from community, you may reduce the amount of pain in your life, but you also reduce the amount of change in your life.
Wow.
And so if you stay in it, right? If you stay in it, if you stay in community, there's going to be someday, like you love Pastor Rich in DC, you think they're awesome. You're going to be here long enough where something you want, they're not going to let you have.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
a role you want. Or you know
Yeah.
the worst thing? When you needed someone and then they were supposed to raise someone up and they didn't because they needed that role more than they needed to serve.
Yeah.
And then you have to move them and put someone else in that place, then the bitterness sets in. Those are the moments you decide whether you're going to stay the same or change. The moment where you go, the moment you start seeing all the imperfections. Like, you know, I was at a church in New York, really large, 10,000. And somebody was saying all these negative things about the pastor. And I said, okay, what one of the things about your pastor didn't you know last year when you loved him like crazy? He goes, well, I knew all these things about him. I said, that's right. You knew all those things about him last year. What changed isn't him, it's you.
Whoa. So
Because
good.
anyone who follows me is going to follow an imperfect human being.
That's right.
If you want 80 reasons to justify why you shouldn't trust the church and go to church and, deflect all you want. The real issue is you don't want to change. And so you need a reason not to change. Some people come to me and goes, well, I don't trust I don't trust you. And I go, hey, find a church where you have a pastor you trust. People say that about tithing.
Great.
They go, well, I'm not ready to give because I don't trust the church with my money. I go, then find someone you trust.
Yeah.
But don't use a pastor as your excuse to hide your greed.
That's really great.
Stop pretending. I used to put up signs on Sundays that had UNICEF, Charity Water, and something else like World Vision. I'd say, hey, if you're here and you don't give because you say you don't trust the church, I want you to start tithing to one of these organizations.
Wow.
So you can't use us as an excuse for your greed.
That is so good. I love that.
And that's creative.
That's really creative. Come on, can we put our hands together for Pastor Erwin? So good.